Okay, hi guys. Just wanted to make a quick video on organic portals and sex. So I have done another video before, and we were talking about basically, the summarization of that video was like when an organic portal's walking down the street, right? What's going on with my camera? Oh, it's the light. When an organic portal's walking down the street, they can steal each chakra's energy, and you'll feel chakras block as energy is coming out of them sideways, right? Horizontally, not spiritually vertical, because they're horizontally energy stealing. And you'll eventually feel aura cracks on your laminar and planar flows. But you can hum to release their attachment, because they've got a frequency attachment, and if you hum it releases that as well. And this is not always malicious. This is like natural for our species, right? It's how the hive works. You've got to understand the higher level stuff, which I'm not going to be going into, like the hive mind and stuff like that. I didn't even want to really talk about that today, but I guess it's relative, right? Always, because it's always there. So for instance, we could skip straight to, if you sleep with an organic portal, and I've noticed this, that you've just basically slept with the hive. Like all your information, every little, millimeter of movement is regarded by the AI. It wants to know, because its NPCs have rigid frames of reference of movement. The 3D type of movement, which is like an old cartoon where it's kind of like more shotty and less more defined and less magically puzzling, and with higher chi speed, fifth dimensional speeds, and so on and so forth. It's like a medium rate. It's much more predictable, etc., etc. They move differently than us, like in spatial coordination as well. Anyway, that's not this video. I've mentioned that before. But I was talking about in that other video about organic portals and sex that, when you're on the street, an organic portal takes one chakra at a time. It can do that. And they'll move through the chakras, and you've got to hum through all the different frequencies. So you have to figure out how to do that to be as free and loose as me. And I'm definitely hanging loose. I think we all know. Who else just goes overseas with the wind, comes back 6 years later? Anyway, so what I find interesting is that, when you have sex with organic portals, it's all chakras at once in the orgasm, right? So it's all chakras at once. So there's that, the kind of what you might consider negative, right? Because we're trying not to get information mined. I've given up on it. It's just going to happen. It's an endless, furious battle to not be information mined. The more aware you are at it, obviously, the less you'll just speak and react in a sort of programmed manner and think, oh, this person's my friend. Ain't nobody a friend out here in this snake hole, this snake pit of a universe on planet Snakeados. So anyway, there's negatives to having sexual intercourse with organic portals and stuff. I've already made that kind of video, but I wanted to talk about something different today, which was other stuff as well. Like how everybody goes on about semen retention. It's like it was almost got as bad as fucking gluten-free, and you know what I mean, and go vegan and stuff like that. It almost made it to that sort of ridiculum status, right? And as a prominent program washing its way across the matrix front. What I have to say about this is I don't do semen retention unless I'm doing it for a reason. Just like I don't do veganism unless I'm doing it for a reason, which is to reset, to clean out, to get, really complex nutrition. If you've been eating too much meat lately, get back on the veggies, get back on the greens as much as possible, stuff like that, right? If you're going off track too far into any addictions, alcohol, sweets, sugar, whatever. So it's the same thing with semen retention. I used to be a cross-country runner, and so before that I remember I used to like purposely, this was when I was a kid, I knew this stuff way before the spiritual people had to tell me, who are like mostly all organic portals, and this reveals it. This point I'm making about semen retention reveals it, because the point is on energy levels. They have very low energy, so they need to do semen retention. I'm spagyric, I'm a surfer, yeah, and I'm quite healthy, right? I look healthy, right? I've got my ormic nature, my mana body, all you know, open and unclogged, and my spagyrics, that's the point I was trying to get at, because obviously the ocean is salt, and yes, ladies, you've noticed that semen is salty, and yes, my alchemist friends out there, so to speak, or other alchemists out there, you guys know, like I know, right, about spagyrics being heavily associated with salts, right? So that all fits together, right? And we see the spark of life, so to speak, literally, when the sperm enters the egg. And yeah, I know there's a lot of magnesium involved in that. But anyway, let's go back to what I was talking about. You know, semen is very salty, right? I think all you ladies who have ever tried it in the mouth and tasted semen know that. And so, and girls just, you know, always say the same thing. And I just thought to myself, well, this all fits together because the energy levels of the organic portals are lower. So the spagyrics and the ormic leveling, the mineralization that is actually making it to a higher level, energetic, plasmonic level, right? This is where energy and plasma touch, the fifth dimension, right? This is fifth dimensional knowledge, or gnosis. You're not going to see this in a textbook for a long, long, long time. And subscribe. Nobody else knows this shit. Barely anybody can speak about this. So, you know, be careful with guys who are like, oh yeah, semen retention. That they're not really spiritual, those guys. If you have low energy like that, they're organic portals. They're not self-spirited. They've still got the spirit of the Matrix. They're still not a higher light body human who's totally aware of their situation here. Maybe they've made it to light body and think they are their higher self only, or something. But yeah, I would still class them as organic portal, and there's definitely many organic portal base NPCs out there who do the same thing, talk about semen retention, like, oh, look at me, I'm like in the spiritual trend, so spiritual now, and then, oh, let's make the next video on veganism, and then like being kind to people, right? It's all in-system thought. I keep presenting this idea of out-system and in-system, in Matrix, obviously. Anyway, so I just wanted to say that about semen retention. Yes, I use it before big events, like I would do a cross-country run, not masturbate for like 2 days, and you need to rub one out sometimes to clear the mana body, because the mana second dimensional body, sorry, camera turned off, the second dimensional mana body, you know, is very, very associated with this, and Jing. Jing comes before Chi, right? Mana is in the dimensional energies, right? And then, I'm not going to go into explaining all this, I'm going to write books on this. But, you know, when you're spagyurically active, you know, you've got 5D clearance, right? The light body at the 5D level will be clearing. And that'll be associated always to lymph system as well, clearing. And the spagyrics are just a higher energy. It's like where you start to get plasmonic, right? Like in science, if we just look at science, we start to get into the, you know, from particles you go down and you get into the plasma sort of field, mechanics, right, and quantum mechanics and stuff. So just think of it like that. That's reality, but just the easiest way to think about it like that. And yeah, my opinion is that those guys who are semen retention are organic portals, and I think the whole spiritual movement's infested with NPC consciousness and organic portals as well.